the game of the week. The game of the week is an in-depth look at a family-friendly game we think you should try if you get the chance. This week's game is Penny Black. Doug, give us the stats.
All right, it's a new one published in 2023 by Buffalo Games. The designer is Dylan Mangini and Aaron Mesborn. The art is by Adam Grayson, Bridget Indelicato, Kwanchai Moria, and Stephen Noble. Hooray for me for getting all of those names
that is
slightly
an awesome team
legible.
Of artists. Awesome team of artists.
2 to 4 players, about 20 minutes, and 10 plus is what BGG has it. I think they are spot on there. I think that is the right starting point for there. I think kids younger than that can play that, but like most games, once you start to get under that 10, you're going to start losing some of the effectiveness of...
Well, and we'll get into it, especially when we talk about the scoring objectives.
Yes. So, and this is going to be ranked as a family game for us.
Absolutely.
So right in there of to steal a line from Andrew from last week, this is going to be mother-in-law approved.
Yeah.
Right?
In-law approved?
In-law approved, yes. Seek out prestigious stamps and complete to build the most lucrative collection in Penny Black. In each round, choose which 3 stamps to add to your collection, then strategically place them in your stamp album to score the most points based on your collection criteria. Each player's criteria varies, and there's no telling which stamps will be available next. Keep an eye out for the Penny Black, the world's first adhesive postage stamp that ushered in the art of stamp collecting. And this highly sought-after prize in this game since it can enhance the value of your album. The player with the most valuable collection after 10 rounds wins. So, at the beginning of the game, you are going to get a stamp book in it, and it is a dual-layered, beautiful stamp book with a grid on each side. You are going to be placing plastic stamps, great quality. Think a little bit almost like the Azul tiles. A little bit more plasticky, but
less acrylic, but yeah, it's really nice.
Same type of thing. And you are going to be getting 3 stamps, most cases, every round, and adding them to your stamp book. Each side of your stamp book has 2 different scoring criteria cards that you're going trying to be trying to meet. Objectives, they may be to collect a certain color of stamp or have them arranged in a certain way or avoid the corners or
4 different colors on the edge. Don't let any stamps touch the edge.
So those are how you're going to be competing to score points. The stamps come in 3 sizes: square, tall, and wide, which take up 4 or 6 of the squares on a grid in your postage book. And then each color is also delineated by the cost of the stamp. So the 1 cost stamps are always going to be 1 color, and the 5 cost stamps, 5-cent stamps, are going to be the travel Americana ones, things like that. So it's easy to kind of separate them out just by their values. You're going to know what color those are. As you're collecting them, there are going to be 1 more kind of plate out, 1 more than the number of players. So there's always going to be an option whenever you're picking. If you're picking last, you always have 2 options. And you're going to take all the stamps on that tray, add them to your stamp book, and then the next round is going to start. So you're going to be adding those. If a Penny Black comes out, which is a special stamp, it's a black stamp, it's going to be the only one that you can take, but that one's going to score special for the stamps that you put around it. So a Penny Black is going to score 2 times the number of your most common stamp around the Penny Black. So you're trying to get a single color to surround the Penny Black as much as possible to maximize your points there. After 10 rounds of drafting, you are going to score out, and whoever has the most points wins. There are also places on your stamp book that have stars that if you put a stamp over that, you're going to collect a star. You can trade those stars in to unstick and rearrange stamps. You can draw new stamps out of the bag. You can buy a Penny Black stamp. So there's some interesting things that are happening during the tile placement process as well. Is that it?
Yeah, there's just 2 things to add in. One is in selecting the scoring objectives and how that works. I think we should take some time and really talk about that. The second is you talked about drafting, and when you take your stamps, the last person has two choices. The stamps that are left over get redistributed to start the next round, and I think that's just an interesting decision point in this game that's different from some other games where we've covered where they're not discarded. So the person who's drafting last, not only do you have a nice choice where you get two different selections to choose from, but then you can also potentially get to choose one of those stamps in the next round.
Yeah.
So those are just, I thought that was a great description and overview of the game. But I would like to spend some time talking about the scoring objectives, because I think that's such an interesting decision right away, right off the bat, that if you're playing the game the first time, you can be pushed in a very positive direction, or you can kind of set yourself up if you're trying to take off too much. It's kind of like a pizza, right? If you want to eat that entire pizza and you're committed to eating the whole pizza, you probably want to start with a 12-inch tombstone and not like the 20-inch hand toss from a specialty place, right?
Deep dish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to get 3 white scoring cards and 3 black scoring cards. And you are going to have a white and black on each side of your stamp book. So one page of your stamp book is going to use 2 of those, one of the white and one of the black, and the page on the other side is going to use the other white and black. The white ones usually are more about the collection type, and so collect the red
color choice.
Yeah,
Yep.
red scent or
Purple or pink collection.
or you just want tall ones or something along those lines. The black scoring ones tend to be kind of more spatial
Set specific
awards of only use these kinds of stamps on the page, or
I have an
fill in.
example here.
Yeah.
So here's a big block. Build a block of matching color stamps. Each page edge touched by this block scores 3 points. So that's an example of a black objective. Or each set with all 3 regular stamp shapes, square, tall, wide, scores 3 points. So you're really trying to focus in on getting the placement of those properly to get those to score off. Versus the white one is each set of 2 pink 4-set stamps scores 3 points.
Yeah.
And it's only to that side of the book. It's not both books. So
Yeah.
you're really juggling those two together.
As far as, I mean, what are the things that we like about this game? I think you can't talk about it without talking about the production quality.
It's unbelievable.
And we've talked about it in the past with Planted and Summer Camp, and I don't know, what wizard Buffalo Games is making offerings to that they're able to get the quality in a $30 game. I think this is available at Target right now.
Yep.
Eventually, it'll be on a wider distribution after that, like most of the other games that may have been exclusive at the time. But the stamp tiles are plastic, pre-printed tiles. They're not stickers. The stamp books are dual layer, and it's a little book that you're opening up and filling in. The round marker is a post office stamper, like a rubber, legit wood and rubber stamper. And all it does is mark the rounds, but it feels like it just makes everything seem deluxe.
Well, and then look at the artists that are on this game. Those are well-known, highly regarded artists, and not just one. They have multiple artists on here that I think really helps to give the game a different flavor and vibe. And yeah,
the stamps
you're right.
feel different.
The stamps feel different, right? It's $29.99 right now at Target, and we try to not just get people fired up about hype and prices and consuming and eating games. It's just a note that that's a really good price point right now for a game that I think has a lot of replayability and is a nice little puzzle. That's what I like about it. I like the puzzly nature of this. This is a game that I think you can play with your 10, 11, 12-year-old and go all out and try to get the perfect score. Somebody can ask the occasional question and you can zoom right back into your own puzzle. Go ahead.
Well, the setup time. I mean, you are up and running with this game. Once you know the rules, I can get this set up in 30 seconds, a minute. You're ready to go, ready to fully play the game and get rolling at it. So that is a huge thing. The colors are vibrant, and I think, so it stands out on the table. it's one of those things that's like, oh, that's interesting. But the gameplay is streamlined in a great way for a family welcoming game that is not intimidating. It goes smoothly, and it has that perfect tension and interaction for a family weight game that is, yes, I'm focusing on my board, and the only interaction happens when people are drafting and taking their tiles. But there are moments I played this game where I'm like, please don't take that one. Please don't take that one. And that to me is a great.
You're not disengaged with looking at your board. You're hoping and waiting like, don't take, I need that one.
I want that for the space. I need it because I'm collecting those or whatever. And I feel like that's it just has that perfect amount of tension and interaction that isn't in your face and also isn't a solo game. It's not like I'm just playing in the corner working on my board. There are moments where I have to look up from the table and just have that brief moment of don't take that one, don't take that one. Yes, I'm getting the one I want. You know, that type of thing, which I think is awesome.
And you use the word tension there twice. I think the late game tension, trying to achieve or let go of scoring goals, scratches that gamer itch that I love. I talked about it, and I know we've talked about it since with Her Story and other games that seem to do that and get it done in under a half hour.
Yeah.
I think that's an accomplishment. I think the team that put this game out needs to feel really good about that they have a product that's on shelves right now that gamers can play with their kids or with non-gamers or mother-in-law proof.
Yeah.
And have a great time in under a half hour and still get that feeling that I get with a 2 or 3 hour game, right? Yeah. Now, it doesn't last that long because it's a half hour game, but I think that is a wonderful tension in those rounds, especially 7, 8, 9, and 10 as that game's winding down. And I've made this mistake twice where I try to be perfect and accomplish all things, and then I'm mad as could be, want to flip the table at the end, but I'm mad at myself.
Yeah.
And for a family, I don't
and you want to dive right back in.
I do. I want to replay it right again, but we have to move on to a different game. And the family games don't usually do that for me, Doug.
Yeah.
And an Emerson Matsuuchi game will, right? Where I'm mad at myself that I didn't play the game better, and everybody else has moved on with their day, and I'm thinking about what I could have done differently.
Well, isn't it interesting, too, that there's, in this game with the 4 different kind of scoring objectives, and then you throw the penny black scoring in on top of that, there is that idea of I can't do everything. Right, which is in a lot of games. Like,
maybe you can't. Yeah. No.
But the amount of games that we've played recently that have that feeling of I can't do everything, but it's also really frustrating me that I can't do everything, or there's too much to do that I can't do everything. This also has, I think, that great balance of you can't do everything, but in a light and approachable way. It's never overwhelming.
Well, and I would say in a very replayable way. Right?
Yeah.
When I get that feeling at the end of a 2 or 3 hour game, I'm stuck with that feeling. And I can think about it for the next 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 weeks, but I can't get people back to the table.
Yeah, or 2 or 3 years you'll be
because
thinking
I can't get people back to the table. We've had this with a big pirate game that I love, Dead Reckoning, right? Yeah. Where we've ran into that. At the end, it takes 3 or 4 hours. We had 3 or 4 people there. And it's like, but in Penny Black, we can run it back right away or play it again next week or in 3 or 4 days. And that level of tension, I just think is really wonderful for the gamer side. But then when you talk about the skills with the risk management of, do I take this tile now or do I wait and take those 3 tiles in balancing that information processing that goes on with some of the math.
Yeah.
I just think is wonderful because a lot of drafting games, especially open drafting, where everybody can see all of the information, are a little bit clunky when in a way that this one is not. There's a smoothness.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The other thing is the personal responsibility of a skill and the thematic tie-in to the idea of, okay, I'm taking this stamp, I'm putting it in my stamp collection in my book, and there it goes. And there are the stars that you can use to unstick something.
Yeah.
And like, oh, I need to move that into a different spot. But there also is a level of permanence of, oh, I put this in the wrong spot. Now that I'm looking at it, like I can't maximize this scoring or whatever it is. And you're like, oh, I can unstick it, but do I really want to spend the stars for that or something else? And I like that it's as much to personal responsibility as like, well, you made your choice, live with it, with the smallest amount of potential rewind, which I think is a great building block thing of like, okay, maybe next time don't do that, and you can learn from that. But then there also is that level of permanence and fixability, which I think is cool to have that dichotomy of the permanence and flexibility, but neither one outshadows the other one.
So you have some opportunities to hit Command Z. You have some, right? There's potentially 6 stars total if you cover all of them up, which somebody is not likely to do. But there are also certain goal cards that score a lot of points but won't allow you to cover some of the stars because the stars are all placed on the perimeter
different things
of the stamp board. And I think that there are so many different opportunities for discussion and reflection in this game. Just from a game playing standpoint of when the game is over, I think there's a lot of time to sit around and talk about why people did the decisions that they did in those 10 rounds.
Yeah, clearly you've got spatial perception in there while you're placing stamps out there, and the decision making of which collection of stamps to take from the center and where to put them and on what page.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole other decision of, okay, I've got these 3 stamps. Do I want to put these 2 over here, all 3 of them in one side, 1 over here? How do I want to divide those up? And even to the point where once you start building out a mass on a page, it's like this one might go on the top of the page and that one at the bottom of the page and this one on the other page. So those decisions, there's a lot of manageable decisions throughout the game.
Well, and in repeated plays, specifically if you're playing in games 2, 3, 4, 5, and beyond, I think observation is another skill that first game, I just need to learn the game and figure out how scoring works.
Yeah.
But as I continue to play, I'm able to peek around the table and see, well, what are they collecting? What am I most likely to be able to see because they won't be taking the 5 stamp, right? Or the 4. And we define observation as a game that rewards careful watching of details and behaviors in order to understand or arrive at a judgment. And that's where I think the repeated plays of this game, that's a skill that can also be fostered and developed.
Well, and everybody's objectives are visible too.
Everything's open.
It's not hidden. So
open.
That's a big key. The only thing I would note on this is some of the scoring cards may be unbalanced.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it doesn't throw off the gameplay, and it's a 20-minute game, so it doesn't bother me. If you're going through with a super gamer and a card counter, they probably can figure out maybe that this card is inherently maybe better than the other one.
Yeah, join our Discord, give us a 5-star review, and then tell us about it. We'd love to hear it.
So just be aware of that. If you're a persnickety hardcore gamer, you may find flaw in that. But I think is there anything else that you have?
I have one.
Yeah.
I thought you'd bring it up, and the pulling of tiles from the bag feels a little awkward in the sense of it can actually feel a little dishonest as a gamer. So Doug brought up this suggestion. I'm citing credit where credit is due. But the suggestion that Doug talked about the last time that we played it is the last person who's going to draft, assign that person the task of pulling the tiles out and placing them. Because unlike Azul, where you're pulling tiles out of a bag and they're all the same shape and the shape doesn't matter, in this game, the shapes matter.
Yeah.
And in rounds 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, the shapes really matter because
Yeah.
you might need that square, not the long, not the tall. You need the square.
Yeah.
And I just felt awkward as somebody who used to be a maniacal and cheater as a gamer and win at all costs, but now I really want to play by the rules.
Yeah.
I felt weird pulling the tiles on me, like, and last game we were just grabbing them almost like we had a pair of fake tweezers in our hands.
Yeah, two-finger draw of a single tile just so you don't.
So that is my only. It's not. It is a nitpick. It's my only just buyer beware of I think there are some ways that you can do it so that works for your group, especially in a school setting. Though I could see some people getting a little fiery, like you cheated, you drew that, you. But
Well, in a school setting, that's also a great opportunity for a teacher to
yeah,
facilitate all that every round. One of the things that we haven't, before we close, I think we've kind of wrapped up everything. The one thing that we haven't mentioned that I really want to focus on and highlight that I appreciate from this game is a unique theme. This game is unique because of its theme. And I am always on the hunt for those type of games that's like, why has nobody done this before?
Yeah.
Why does this theme not exist? And when I can get those quirky games, it's easy for me to add them to my collection because it's like, one, I don't have, anytime a new fantasy game comes out, I then have to go as like, is this as good as all my other fantasy
Yeah.
games? Is it beating it? Or is there a reason I should have 3 fantasy games? That type of thing, where this one, it's like, I got a stamp collecting game and it's staying in my collection and it is unique and I love its uniqueness. And I just think that should be celebrated as more games. And when there's 3,000 games coming out a year, let's have some more variety. And I just really want to applaud this game for making what some may consider as a bold choice of, we're going to make a game about stamp collecting.
Yeah, and I think if there's anyone in the Dice Tower who's on the search for a new segment and you're looking for a guest correspondent, Doug has just volunteered himself for a segment called Theme Hunters.
Theme Hunters.
But this is a game that could be featured in that segment.
Yeah.
It is truly unique, and I'm glad you highlighted it. I wanted to just briefly talk about where I think this fits, if that's okay. Perfect fit. I think this fits in multiple areas. This is a great family game if you have that 10-plus kiddo who wants to play games. And if you've played other Buffalo games that have been on our Game of the Week, Summer Camp, or Planted, it fits right alongside those on your shelf as well, which is kind of cool for a collector.
Yeah.
The other piece, I do think this fits well in a school setting, middle school on up, because it is a 20-minute game. It's 30 minutes from getting it out of the box and getting it back in the box, and everything goes back in nicely. So I think those are 2 settings where it fits great.
All right. Yeah, I agree 100%. So that is our game of the week, Penny Black by Buffalo Games.